One. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Retail Shenanigans. This is episode number 10. Today, my guest is Mr. Robert Blakely, a gentleman who I have a huge amount of respect for, a person I've worked with for a few years at Gander Mountain and then also at Gander Outdoors. Fantastic individual, wealth of knowledge. He's coming to us with a lot of gun sale retail knowledge, and it's definitely going to be a fun and interesting episode. So, Mr. Blakely, how are you, sir? Good to have you on the show.
I am dandy, Ray. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Like I said, we had when I first started doing this, I had put out on Facebook, that I definitely wanted to do this, and you were one of the first people that said, that you would do it and bring your, like I said, wealth of knowledge of firearm sales to the show, and I've been excited. A couple times on the show we've talked about you. I know myself and Nate, we talked about you a little bit on his episode where, just the amount of knowledge that you share and just, the fact that you just don't even seem bothered by it anymore, that, someone has a question, you love helping people.
Yeah, well, see, if you get old enough and you manage not to die and not forget things, you accumulate some knowledge. So that's where I am.
So what you're saying is you just gotten so old, you just stopped caring, and you've just been around
Correct.
a lot.
Yeah, my biggest accomplishment to date is I've yet to die. So there we go.
Fantastic. Well, anyway, man, I'm really happy to have you on the show, and we're going to go ahead and get started with the first question here, which is, I guess I might have to reword it a little bit different than Neely for you, but it's how long have you worked in retail, or in your side of it, how long have you worked in gun sales? Because I know you personally do, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know you do a lot of spam mail stuff too, and I would say that's still, that still has to do with sales and whatnot, but how long have you been in the business?
So my retail world is broken up by about a 30-year gap. So when I was
Wow.
when I was younger and still in school, I worked retail, and then wasn't in the retail world for, like I said, for over 30 years. Guns, firearms of all types were a huge hobby of mine, and so several years back, on a part-time basis, I started working at Gander Mountain, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Retail side on the gun counter. Spent a few years there. As you well know, Gander Mountain went south. It rose out of the ashes and became Gander Outdoors, and then the whole damn thing just fell apart again and went away.
Yeah.
And so I left there, and I still enjoyed that hands-on interaction with the firearms and public. And so after Gander Outdoors folded, at least our store folded, I went to work for Freedom Armory, which is a gun store and a range and a suppressor manufacturer here in South Central PA. And so, like I said, a big part of it to me is spreading freedom. That's what we laugh. Yeah, I laugh. I love to sell guns. I do. I love to put guns in the hands of people that were unsure about it, and being able to lead them on that path. So anyway, there's a long answer to your short question.
No, that's fantastic. I love answers like that on the show. I don't know if you've heard it yet, but my longest to date was Lauren. And as much, we love Lauren to death, but you know how she loves her long-winded answers.
Yes. Lauren loves the sound of her own voice more than I do mine. So there you go.
Shout out to Lauren Campbell. You're a good sport. Anyway, so you said so there was a 30-year difference where you worked in retail a little bit when you were younger, and then 30 years went by, which is longer than I've been alive. And then you started working, like you said, at Gander. So that's crazy that you went that long, and it was just you were looking for just something part-time on the side to just, pretty much get paid for your knowledge.
Yeah, that was it. And I enjoy what I do during the day, and I enjoy that as well.
Right.
I do direct marketing primarily for the real estate space, but for some nonprofits as well.
Okay.
I do direct mail, email, web marketing stuff, and I enjoy that. I enjoy the creative nature of it. But firearms are my passion, and then being able to share that passion with other people in a retail space. I enjoy it, and it's great. I get paid to do it, but honest to God, I really do enjoy doing it. It's a part-time job. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't keep doing it.
Yeah, it definitely goes along the line that adage, which I know I've definitely heard you say before, working in the past, and it's just one of those old sayings where if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. Which I know that's sometimes can be hard to come by, but in an instance like that for you, at least for your part-time gig, it's got to be something that at least rings partially true, because like you said, you love it.
Fine. Yeah, and there's nothing different about I think anyway, in the firearms space, for the retail side than any other retail sale. So for the most part, when a Karen comes into the to a retail environment and wants to see the manager, you gotta kind of, oh yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes ma'am. At the gun counter, and trust me, gun stores get a bad rap, and for a reason. There's a lot of them just have a horrendously poor attitude. They look down on people that don't know anything, and that's not who I am. That's not
Right.
the business I work in. Not that way. However, you get somebody that comes to the counter and they're an ass. You can just go, no, I'm not selling you a gun today,
Oh,
and there's
most
nothing they
definitely.
can do about it. Yeah, and that's great. So and it's very rare that it happens, but that is an outlet that working gun retail doesn't happen many other places. You can just say, nope, nope, no gun for you.
Right, and that's one thing I definitely going back to what you were saying earlier when you first started about. Oh damn, I lost my train of thought there. Oh well. But definitely. Oh, I remember now. Okay. So what you were saying is, like there is a stigma of people, looking down on you if you go in and you don't have that knowledge. I mean, I definitely see that there are some people. I know I didn't always work in the gun counter back in my Gander days, both of them, but I did spend a good bit of time back there when it was necessary or we were short staffed or whatever. But I even in shops that I went to outside of Gander, I don't think I ever really ran into that. Even where I want to say it was in Freedom, but it might have been Trops. Whoever has Machine Gun Mondays or Machine Gun Tuesdays or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I went in there with my father-in-law, and I understand that I have some knowledge and whatnot. But I even going in there with him, we never really ran into that much, and it's just interesting that you say that there is that stigma, but I'm just glad I've never run into that.
Yeah, it's out there. And to be 100% honest, Freedom Armory, where I currently work, they
Hmm.
were kind of known for that a few years back. They had, and it was really centered around a couple employees.
Gotcha.
Um, but there were a lot of Google reviews that say, oh, they're rude and they don't want to help the new shooter out, um, which is a shame because this is the opportunity in a retail environment to welcome people to the Second Amendment community. And you don't want to lose that. You don't want that first exposure to a quote unquote gun person to be negative. Um, the month of March saw unprecedented levels of retail gun sales. Higher than so more in my state, Pennsylvania, more guns were sold in the month of March
Hmm.
than all of 2019.
Wow.
So let that sink in. So more guns were sold in the month of March than all of the previous year combined. Um, and I sold more guns to first-time gun owners across that counter in March than I have in my entire retail career total in 1 month.
Wow.
Um, that's an opportunity you don't get so that person goes home and that experience. The first-time gun owner, they come to a gun store versus buying something online. They come to the retail environment because they're unsure.
Right.
They're looking for someone to help to hold their hand, quote unquote, and guide them through the process and make them feel comfortable about a decision that they're probably questioning. And I'm glad that myself, as well as the other folks that work for Freedom now, were able to make that experience positive. So,
No, most definitely, and that was one thing I've seen a lot on the rise ever since the start of the pandemic. Once it really started hitting, over here in America, um, one of the podcasts I watch a lot is the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was just saying even him living in California, you could just see lines and lines of people who were all first-time gun buyers going to get a gun or something to help defend themselves and their families, because if shit hits the fan, like people are going to be doing whatever they can to either get some supplies or to do whatever to take care of their family. And I definitely think it's eye opening, and like you said, it's good to be able to help those first time gun buyers because you definitely don't want to give them the bad impression or rub them the wrong way.
yep, yep.
So, if you could, then that's actually a really good segue with what you were just saying about. If you could pick, with all of your experience with selling guns in the retail market, or just selling guns in general, as far as how's that subject is to deal with, what would you say then your best memory of a retail environment be? Like whether or not it was something where the customer came back and was like, "Thank you very much," blah blah blah, or if it was like they put like a good compliment on line or to your boss about you, or even as little as somebody coming back and personally thanking you. If you could pick like your
Yeah.
top tier memory, what would it be?
So it's going back to the Gander Mountain days.
Okay.
So to single out one piece, and it was a new gun owner. It was and I can remember the gentleman. It was actually him. He was a letter carrier. Him and his wife came in to buy a gun for her to use, for her to have at home while he was away from home at work.
Okay.
And walk them through the process, and we looked at a lot of different things, found the right thing for. That was comfortable for her, that it was still enjoyable for him to shoot, and what have you. So it wasn't just didn't have to spend its entire life in a nightstand drawer. They could enjoy shooting it, and then also have every protection. So it was probably 6 months, give or take. After I sold them the gun, they came back in the store, and because, and you know as well as I do, retail world, people come and go, and you don't remember every customer that came in 6 months ago, and you haven't seen them since. So they came in.
Correct.
Came up to the gun counter. They had a home invasion.
Oh, Jesus.
Now, luckily, she never had to pull the trigger.
Right.
Brandishing the firearm enough. He was not home, but brandishing the firearm was enough to make the people who had broken a window, her walking up to the window was enough to make them turn and run away. And so that's probably, if I'm going to pull out a singular event, they came back in to thank me and to tell me that story, which I appreciated. That she was confident enough to draw that firearm, to have it ready, to chamber it and have it ready, and defend her life with. And then, thank God for everybody, she didn't have to get to the point where she had to take a life to save a life.
Right.
But that meant something to me. I was pleased with that.
No, most definitely, and that's the exact extension of everything that you were saying, and that everything that I've ever heard you say. I was telling Nate the other day when I was talking to him. I said, if there's one thing, obviously there's probably other things, but obviously in the moment of the joke, I said, if there's one thing that's probably going to go on Robert Blakely's tombstone is get armed, get trained, get prepared. And that's your bread and butter for everything, and that's always what I hear you tell people, and it's so awesome to hear that. I know a couple months back on New Year's Day, I don't know if you recall, but I had messaged you because I was inquiring about some of the laws as far as like standing your ground and whatnot, because my house actually got broken into and a very similar situation, and like I said, I had my shotgun, and all I had to do was thankfully is rack it, and the people left, which I'm very grateful that was able to not be taken further, because like I said, my two children, I had just got done giving them a bath. They were up in bed, and everyone says they do something in the heat of the moment, but at the end of the day, I'm not letting you get to my kids.
Right.
So then if we could go ahead and go ahead, Rob.
I was just saying, you don't know what's going to happen now with the coronavirus message going on.
Right.
At the end of the day, and there's news reports coming out about various food shortages and things like that. Desperate people do desperate things.
Yeah.
And so, all I know is that I'm ready. I'm ready for the complete collapse of society, or I'm ready for normal life. This
Right.
middle of the road crap, I am just tired of. Either give me zombies and let me shoot, or let me go get a goddamn haircut. One or the other.
Yes, I know you've shared that. A lot of the guys from Gander have said that. And then I saw a meme that really made me lose it, and it was a guy dressed in, he had his a chest plate, full body armor and everything, and he had his AR and everything, and all his the whole gear and everything, and he was sitting in his house drinking a cup of coffee, and the caption was "Worst apocalypse ever."
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Dressed in full kit to go down to the coffee shop. So
yeah, which again, that's ridiculous. But you can still go to Starbucks and get drive-through, but you can't. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on then to kind of flip that last question on its head then, what would you say your worst memory would be then? Like the worst thing that's happened to you with your experience?
Uh, nothing really. I'm trying to remember if there was, things jumping out like some horrible customer, because
Hmm.
we had the ability to manage that a little bit different than the rest of the retail space. Um, I'm sure after we get off the phone, something will probably, because I will jump out. It wasn't the Black Fridays. Again, we were super
Right,
busy,
right.
but it wasn't horrible. Um,
And that's perfectly okay. If the answer is no, you don't have something that's absolutely terrible, that is also absolutely fine, Rob. Like I said, this is just, like I said, it's all just free form. And if it's generally been all right, then hey, that's an awesome answer too,
yeah,
dude.
yeah,
Which,
yeah. Other than the days you were there, it was fine. So there we go. I had to give one rainy day again somewhere. So
oh, such an asshole, but I love
I know.
it.
Oh God, I forgot. One of the best days could have been the day where I photoshopped you with the turkey onto the magazine
Oh
cover.
God,
I forgot about that. That was a great day.
did you did you watch? If I don't know if you've listened to it or not, but the episode I did this past Friday with Mark and Alex.
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you, before that all started, they were I guess they were both texting each other, saying that they were going to just tear into me the whole podcast, and me knowing them both. Working with them
Right.
for as long as we worked for them, I knew that they were going to try to do that.
It was coming.
So
Yeah.
from the gun, I was just left and right firing it at both of them on all cylinders. And I even brought up that situation. And they said something, and I told them, I said, look, I said, at least you guys didn't have yourself photoshopped with some fucking turkeys, okay? And then they lost it. They said they forgot about it. And I'm like, I'm sure they still have the memes on the phones. I said they'll make their rounds sooner or later.
Nice. Nice.
Okay, well, so then my next question then would be, so if something would ever happen, so let's just say for Gander, if for some miraculous miracle a Gander would open for a third time, and it would be
Mhm.
strictly just a gun store, no outdoors, just your hunting and your gun sales, do you think you would ever go back a third time?
Yeah, this is probably going to sound really stupid, but in a heartbeat. So, um, although I enjoy what I do where I currently work,
Okay.
and you've probably heard this over and over again, and being in the retail space, and it's a cliche, but it's
Hmm.
about the people you work with. So I'm old, and I'm one of the youngest guys where I currently work, and I'm like, holy crap. Um, especially if Gander came back and Brent was there again, and we can get
Yes.
some of the same team. Oh yeah, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It was and that's making the assumption, like I said, that there's some percentage of the old team that came back
Right.
because it was fun.
It
I mean,
was.
I loved working with John and with Mitch and Steve and Chad and the whole crew. It was great, and then not even just the people in the firearms counter. It was Lauren was fun to work with. You were fun to work with. And so it was a good time. It really was. It wasn't miserable. And where I'm not at now is not miserable,
Right.
but it's not nearly as fun.
Right. It's not a place where you can go and again make a meme about one of the other coworkers having sex with some chickens and having the ugliest babies possible.
It is not, because 90% of the people I work with, they have no idea what a meme is.
Right.
So, yeah, it's lost on them. So yeah, they're a little bit more uptight, but that's fine.
No, I totally understand, and again, not to throw too much of my personal in there, but it was, I mean, one of the hard to this day, I still say Gander, even old Gander under Brent was one of my favorite jobs of all time. I mean, it understandably, it's no longer there currently, but when I told him I had to leave and I moved down here to Texas, like I walked out of the store and I was crying. No shame in that. It was just my favorite job. I loved the people I work with. I liked the things that we did. It just we had a good family there, and it was hard.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. And Mitch was late to the game in the firearms counter, but it was fantastic work with Mitch. Mitch was a great team builder as well. You got to get him on here if you can get a hold of him. So
Yeah, I have.
But
I'm pretty sure I have him on Facebook. The sad thing is I was there for with John for about a week, and I've dropped some hints here and there of John about getting him on. But I've never face to face met Mitch. But I'm definitely going to reach out to him about getting him on, because I
yeah,
would love. Again, this is awesome getting the gun side of your retail and sales in.
yeah.
So, with what you kind of already answered my next question earlier in the beginning. My next question is pretty much what is your experience with the pandemic and the coronavirus with what you're still doing? But you've already answered that, where you've said you've sold more guns in a month than you have in the last, what, 2 years?
Yeah, yeah,
Oof.
yeah. So, well, I mean, I sold more guns to first-time gun owners.
Right, that's what it was. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, than I ever have in my entire retail experience. So, on both sides of the equation. So, my non-retail work, we are still working,
Okay.
however, at a greatly reduced volume. So, I'm still, knock on wood, I am still employed,
Right.
but I've taken a significant pay cut to be able to keep myself employed.
Right.
On the gun store side, yeah, the gun store that I work at did like 6 months worth of sales in 20 days.
Yeah,
If you just look at dollars and cents.
That's bonkers.
And yep, so now the pandemic has required them to cut their number of hours on a couple fronts. One, because we can't, although the gun store can be open, we can't open the shooting range. So that's one front. The other front is we essentially just can't get inventory fast enough into the store to be open 7 days a week.
Yeah,
We're just selling it. So what the owners of that store are doing is, I'm only working. I worked weekends at this gun store, and right now they're only open on the weekends. They're only open Saturday. However, the owners are still paying me my full salaries if I was there both days. Which I think is a decent thing for them to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. So they're still paying, as if I was there both days, but only working the one. On a personal level, beyond the retail world, you remember Colin, my son?
Yeah.
Yep. So Colin went after Gander closed. Colin went to work for Camping World.
Okay. Yeah, I had heard about that. Is he still up there?
He was until last week, and they laid him off. So he was in
Jesus.
Hanover. Yeah, so Hanover Camping World has got Brent. That's where Brent went.
Okay.
As well. So they laid Colin off. My wife has been laid off from her job. She got laid off at the end of March.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter, who works for Brianna, works for Cummins. She is still working, but they cut her down to 4 days a week. And so there's really nobody in my house that's full-time employed.
Yeah.
But, because for a lot of years, you having sort of a prepper mindset doesn't mean you're preparing for the apocalypse, although I'm ready. It means that you could have your own personal apocalypse. So that means you have enough food in your house to last for a month or two or a couple months, and you've got some cash reserves put aside. And it doesn't, you don't have to be rich to be able to put money away. It's little bits at a time over a long time make a difference. So we're okay for a while. I'd really like to get a stateside kill for somebody breaking into my house, but it hasn't happened yet. But we're okay for it.
You got a chalkboard waiting for the tally mark?
I do, as a matter of fact.
That's beautiful.
He's hanging bags of groceries on the back porch as bait. Nobody's taken it yet.
Jesus. Oh, man. Well, it's definitely good to know that your sense of humor hasn't, gone out the window with all this. Because I know there's a lot of people that even I used to deal with a lot that were just, cheery and up peppy people. And it's hit them hard. I mean, small business owners that are losing their entire life savings because they can't open, and then they're defaulting on their loans, and any of this extra loan money that they're supposed to be coming that's available is gone already. And it's so frustrating.
I read yesterday that 30% of non-chain restaurants, mom and pop restaurants, 30% of them are expected to never reopen.
That's
so
terrible.
one third of every privately held restaurant is going out of business. So you'll have a proliferation of Chili's and all these other chain restaurants, but all the mom and pop family restaurants, all of them, at least a third of them are going to be gone forever. That's a shame.
Yeah, and we have a lot of that down here in Texas. We have a lot. Don't get me wrong. We have a lot of chains, but I mean, especially where I live in Irving, we have a lot of family-run like Mexican restaurants or like things that are only open for like breakfast, or on the opposite end of that, they only open after 6 and they do like happy hour and things of that. And they're all family-owned that have been around forever. And
Yeah.
now, what are these people going to do? And it's just going to add to my biggest worry is, okay, yeah, we've been closed down for what 6, 7 week 8 weeks now, and we're gonna they're slowly starting to reopen in a like a beginning of the month. But I mean, what's gonna happen if this causes a huge depression? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. We'll be my thought is we'll be decades. We'll be at least a decade recovering from this.
yeah,
The economic impact of this is going to be devastating to us as a country, and it's going to change. It's changing the world in good and bad ways. The way people buy houses, the way people work when they can work, the things that our world is not going to be the same. I hear people saying, well, it's once everything gets back to normal, and I remind people that are old enough to remember pre 9/11 days.
yeah,
All right, and so the government telling you, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. You can't carry liquids into the airport. You can't go with your family out to the gangway, and it's just for this threat, and it'll go away later. Well, that's 20 years ago, and all that stuff's still here.
right.
So the amount of control that the government is felt free to exercise on us in the name of public safety, they're not going to willingly give all that stuff back. So economically, politically, our world is going to change.
Well, I mean, and you can historically look that up and prove it, because look at Julius Caesar. Rome always had a thing when their attackers were at the gate. They suspended democracy and appointed one man in control of the country. And Caesar, once it was done, everything was starting to settle. He didn't relinquish anything. He was like, "Fuck you."
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it's common sense, and it doesn't matter what end of the spectrum you live on. That you don't ever want the government restricting your freedoms for safety. I mean, I can't remember who said it, but the person who gives up liberty for freedom deserves none and will get none, neither. I think it might have been
Yep.
Ben Franklin, but I could be wrong.
It was.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, truer every day. I mean,
Yep. The government should be small enough that you can drown it in a bathtub if you need to.
amen, brother. And that's why I've been called Republican my whole life, but I mean, I've always been more libertarian than anything, and I'm always for small government. And my wife she's and I love her to death, but my wife's always been diehard Democrat, and she's been seeing a lot more of what I say. Like, I tell her about libertarian beliefs and small government and taxation is theft, down the rabbit hole and everything. And
Yep.
once she starts seeing a lot of this, I love the fact that her and I can talk about this stuff. I mean, anyway, that's going way off topic, but
Yep.
I genuinely do get a little worried, because you don't want your freedoms taken, because like you said with the Patriot Act, when is it going to stop then?
Right. And it's going to have a huge impact on the economic side of the retail, circling back to the retail world.
Right.
And so, for years, online sales have been taking bigger and bigger bites out of the in-person retail sales.
100%.
Yep. But what we've had is this massive shift.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you bought something other than groceries or medication in the last, 45 to 50 days, you bought it online.
Right.
And I think you're going to see unfortunately, a dramatic shrinking of the retail space. You're going to see a dramatic shrinking of just commercial office space.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, people that have been working from home, these employers, when this is over, they're going to be like, wait a minute, I've been paying for this giant rent on this giant office and all
Yep.
this other stuff. Keep working from home. So.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. Or like the whole, not that I'm pro or against homeschool, but all the people that, all the schools that were for a couple weeks until they shut everything down, where they were having everything done at school, or not done at school. I'm sorry, done at home. No, I'm not. I'm not saying I'm for or against it, because there is, there's pros to homeschool, there's pros to public school. You want your kid in that public school situation so they learn how to deal with people, how to interact, and things of that nature, because you don't want your kid to grow up to be a sociopath. You know what I'm saying? But
Yep.
I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting. Like you said, over the next 10 years. Like I said, the world that I lived in and grew up in, it's going to be interesting to see it completely different for my kids. Because, like I said, they're almost 3 and almost 2. So by the time they're 10 years from now, things might be like you just said, 100% different, and we could still be recovering from it. And that's super scary.
Yep.
Well, Robert, that was a great. I really that was a really almost a great way to wrap up the interview. I have one last question for you, but before we get too deep in the weeds, I definitely want to thank you again for coming on here and. Definitely appreciate your patience and that you came on here and were able to, not only have fun, but, get your knowledge out there and just your experiences. So I really greatly appreciate you, bud. Um,
No worries.
but for closing, the last question um, really is more of like I usually call it like a call to action or just like a inspirational. What is for all the people that are still out there, like even in like let's say even in your business or those that are out still working at Walmart and Target or Giant, Wise, Kroger's that are out who used to be just a fruit or a shelf stocker who's now they live in a viral warfare environment where they're out, yeah, they're making minimum wage to outstock fruit and to make sure that there's toilet paper on the shelf, but now they're going to work possibly and can die. So if you had one thing to say to the people that are out there putting their lives on the line to make sure that not only they're feeding their families, but that other people can get the supplies to keep their family safe, what would you say to these people to help motivate them to get them through to the next day or even just to the next hour?
Yeah. So when the movie stars, the celebrities, the pro sports people get on TV and say, "Oh, we appreciate you. Thank you. We're all in this together." Then, fuck you. You're not in this together with us.
Exactly.
You're on a in a $5 million mansion somewhere. Understand that the person that is stocking the shelves wearing a mask at Walmart,
Hmm.
or the person at the drugstore who's afraid and looks over their shoulder time a customer coughs. People like me, people like your neighbor, appreciate that.
Hmm.
We really do. We're concerned about you. We're thinking about you and appreciating the fact that essentially you're the only pieces of the fine threads that are keeping our lives currently moving. And so don't buy into the celebrity bullshit. They're the people that your neighbors and the people that come in that store, they appreciate what you're doing.
Most definitely. And I don't know if you saw it, but when this all really started going on and the celebrities started locking down, it made me sick. And as much as I like this person as an actress, I don't know if you saw the video of that Gal Gadot got a bunch of people together and were like actors, and they were all singing lines of
Yeah,
Imagine from uh, fucking why can't I think of his name? John Lennon. Like,
John
oh,
Lennon today.
imagine there's no heaven. Really? That's what you want to be. That's what you wanted the message you want to be putting out right now that there's no people. Like, I understand. Like,
I
it's
saw
mind
a
boggling.
I saw I think it was Babylon Beer the Onion today. I saw a meme where it was an aerial photo of a bunch of yachts spelling out the word um, uh, "We're in this together," and it said, "Oh, the celebrities have taken their yachts to spell out we're in this together." And I'm like, that's kind of the perfect meme. Yep. So,
Oh my god. Yeah, we're in this together. Okay, let me send you my electric bill then, jackass.
yep.
All right, Rob. Well, that was a great episode. I really appreciate you being on. You've given me a lot to think about and everybody listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, this was Robert Blakely. He's my special guest here. If you have any questions for him, he is all on Facebook. And as you heard, he loves to talk. If you have any questions about first time gun ownership or just guns in general, this man is a wealth of knowledge. He could spit you out facts about almost damn near any gun you can think of. If not, I'm sure he could find the answer for you. So, Rob, if you want to put any plug in for yourself real quick before we go.
Nope, no, just appreciate your time. I'm just an everyday guy. If I'm on Facebook and want to raise friends, you can find me. If you got a question, ask me.
Yeah, if you guys can't find him, reach out to me on Facebook, and I will connect you to Rob. Anyway, guys, we still have that competition going on right now. 50th subscriber is still getting that $10 Amazon gift card from me. Have a great day, guys, and this was Retail Shenanigans, episode 10.